Now, outcome-based education, what exactly we are going to cover today? We are going to have three sessions again. Session number one, this will be covered by myself. This will be fundamentals of outcome-based education or introduction to OBE. This session shall last till 11:45. Then we will have 15 minutes break. And Dr. Fahad Noor, who covered the second session yesterday, is again engaged for the session number two, which is very important if we are going to implement the OBE. As I stated yesterday, that this OBE is the next challenge. Most of the universities, they have got implemented the semester system, but the outcome-based education is a new thing. It's a new challenge that is knocking at the doors of our colleges and the universities. So we later, sooner or later, we are going to implement the outcome-based education system. And for multiple programs, there are accreditation councils. There are around 10 plus accreditation councils already working, who are going to come and evaluate the quality of the program against a certain set of criterion. So we are going to explain that what are those common criterion. So how the system needs to be reoriented, that instead of being that typically content focused, we are actually focused on the learning abilities and the capacities of the students that are built by the time they pass out of the university gate or the exit gate. The last session, this will again be on the preparation of the self-assessment report. If you have implemented the outcome-based education system and now you want to invite the accreditation council, that they should come and see what exactly you have done to ensure that the institute is meeting the quality benchmarks. So you are going to, it's not a telephone call or a text message. It has to be your own assessment of your own self. You need to assess what exactly you have done. So to assess yourself, you need to exactly know that what are those criterion. So first you will be understanding what those criterion are, and we will be explaining that what are the requirements of each and every criterion, and then how those criterion based self-assessment report needs to be prepared. So once the report is prepared, it will be sent to the accreditation council, and they are going to constitute a team of experts who will come for a day or two or maybe 3 days to make sure that the program does meet the quality benchmarks as listed by the accreditation council. So this is what we are going to do. The third session shall be covered by Dr. Amjad Hussain. Yesterday we had Dr. Muhammad Amjad covering the third session on the semester regulations. Today again another Amjad, but with a different surname. He will be Dr. Amjad Hussain, who is Director of Continuing Engineering Education, responsible for the continuous professional development of the teachers as well as the working professionals. So at 3:30 to 3:45, we will have the interaction and the question answer session. Last but not the least, you will again be asked or requested to fill the closing survey. So we are going to float the opening survey for day number 3. Kindly fill the opening survey as you were kind enough yesterday. Let me reiterate and assure you again, this is not an assessment of your knowledge. This is just to help us understand that how do you take OBE right now, so that we can apply the right kind of tools and strategies to help you in a right way. So the link has been posted. Here the link, the survey link for the opening of day number 3 has been posted, and we are going to break for 5 minutes because yesterday we had 3 minutes because the semester system, we knew that most of the audience, they will be familiar. Today we are expecting that most of the audience or the participants, they may not be familiar, or they will be just having that they are starting the implementation of the outcome based education. So we shall award around 5 minutes to fill this opening survey. So kindly fill this opening survey for day number 3. So we will break for 5 minutes. Chiranjeev, thank you so very much. I think still around 5 or 6 colleagues need to fill the survey, and we give them some more time while we are in the session number 1. We expect that by the time this session ends, all of the participants, they have filled the survey. Like yesterday, today again, at the break of the day, as we are talking about the outcome-based education, and I will be using this word OBE. OBE means outcome-based education. We should actually behave the way OBE expect. Means even in this training, as I stated yesterday, that we need to have the outcomes instead of the objectives. Well, the objective could be anything, but the outcome is what matters at the end. And our today's outcomes are that by the time this day number 3 completes, the participants, they will be able to explain the building blocks of an outcome-based education system. They shall be able to describe different criterion for the OBE based accreditation, and they shall be able to prepare or draft their own programs self-assessment report, commonly known as SAR, for the onward submission to the respective accreditation councils. So these are our expectations, that if we remain intact, if we remain participative and candid and share whatever our fears are, if we can share our fears, we can definitely overcome them. So the training for the, in the morning today, when I was rewinding that what exactly has happened before this outcome-based education system was in place at my own institute, and I was trying to compare, what exactly has been the difference. So I was trying to list down a few, and one of the fundamental difference that I could point out, that while I was working in the conventional system, pre-OBE system, and now the post-OBE system, is that every time, even if I am teaching the same module, I'm improving as a teacher. So although this outcome-based education system, this is meant for the graduates, but even from teachers' perspective, when I rewind from 2006 onwards, when I and I taught it like for a few years. Then I went abroad for my PhD. Then again, before this OBE was introduced, there was another couple of years, and then from 2014 onwards, we have been working and wrestling with the system in the beginning, and then we managed to overcome this challenge and implement it, and now we are continuously trying to improve it. So the difference I could mark was that although the student quality has improved and there are certain benchmarks and against which we can test them, but even as a teacher, I improved every time I taught the course. So this credit actually goes to OBE. So the session number 1, this session number 1 includes the dilemmas of the conventional education system. What exactly we are doing? So if we think that the educational system is a machine, we have multiple layers of educational system. We have the primary system, then we have the secondary, higher secondary, and then the tertiary or the university level, which we are dealing. So let's consider that the educational system is a machine. Now you get an input into the machine, and whatever is the mold, shape of the mold, you get the similar type of product outside. So implementation of the outcome-based education system is actually the introduction of a new machine. All of us may have seen those little dough machines or the toys that our kids use at their home. What they have, the dough machine has dough which is fed into the machine, then the machine is rotated, and then there are different shapes coming out of that machine. If the machine has a circular mold, can we expect a square coming out of it? No. If you are expecting a circle, you should be having a round shape introduced within the machine. So the dilemmas of the conventional system are that the conventional system is not keeping an eye on what is required. So I'll try and explain and illustrate this through very common experiences, not examples. In the personal life experiences, why I got convinced that the outcome-based education system can actually solve a lot of problems that our graduates generally face when they go into the industry or into the real life situations where they become entrepreneurs, they start their own business, or they do either government or the private jobs. So this is these are the dilemmas we have to overcome or get rid of these dilemmas. And then we will be talking about 15 P's of the OBE system. We can say these are the 15 pillars that will be used to construct the framework of outcome-based education system. So let's start with dilemma number one. If you have ever studied, say, science even at your matriculation or maybe in 8th class, all of us are familiar with these shapes. These two shapes are two right angle triangles and they look similar. And in these triangles, we know that if in the smaller triangle, we have these two values, 6 and 4, and the bigger triangle, we have the base set at 24, we can calculate the value for x. So how can we calculate the value for x? This is a very simple theorem that the ratio of the same sides in the similar triangles, they are equal. So we have x over 6 equals to 24 divided by 4, something like this. Or the ratio of these sides is equal to the ratio of these sides. So if you are asked to calculate x, you can apply, there is no rocket science in this, very simple. A theorem can be applied to calculate x. Now, where is the dilemma? Well, there is no dilemma there. This is PHEC. This is Arpa Cream Tower where PHEC is actually placed. So imagine you are an employer and you have two graduates who are ready to be interviewed, and you are a private firm owner. You want to hire them for, say, a 6-digit salary, 100,000 you want to offer them. The candidate number one comes in. He has, of course, parked his car somewhere over here, entered here, and sitting somewhere over there on 11th or 10th floor. Now you ask him that what is the height of Arfa Cream Tower. He is very good at memory and general knowledge. He knows it. He says 106 meters. That is exactly the height of the Arfa Cream Tower. You appreciate his memory and his knowledge. But then the second candidate comes in. This is where the difference starts. The second candidate is also asked the same question, that what is the height of the Arfa Cream Tower? He responds, well, I am not sure what exactly is the height of this tower, but if you give me 15 minutes, I'll get back and tell you that what is the height of the Arfa Cream Tower. What does he do? He exits the building and he comes over somewhere over here. He stands in parallel to the building and watches his shadow. So this is the man 6 feet, say, standing here, and this is his shadow. He knows his height. He measures the length of his shadow, and he also measures the length of the building's shadow. And then he uses this formula and calculate the value for the height of the Arfa Cream Tower, and the answer comes out to be 101 meter, or say 100 meter, not precisely 106. Now my question is, which graduate are you going to employ? The one who knew that the height is 106, or the one who knew how to calculate the height. Because if you hire the graduate number one and it is not Arfa Karim Tower and you take it to an unknown building, to an unknown situation, he is not able to apply the knowledge he has already gained while he was the graduate at the university. He was not trained like that. He was trained to remember things and reproduce them whenever needed. The other graduate was actually trained in a way that he can or she can apply his knowledge in unknown or unfamiliar or relatively less familiar situations. So, if I am the employer, my choice is candidate number two. Now, then I ask myself that the system that we are running, is that system producing candidate number one or candidate number two? To answer this question, we have another slide. Well, this is before I actually explain what exactly is this slide, let me tell you a very, again, simple story. A few years back, at the intermediate level, one of my niece, she had physics exam. And once she was out of exam, came back home, and I asked her, but how was the exam? She responded, चाचू जी बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम हुआ है. What was the question? She said the question number 7.4. I was actually shocked. That how do you know that this was question number 4? What was the answer? She reproduced the answer, then opened the book and showed me the question. I read the question and then read the answer. The answer was perfect. What the student had actually done, they had stored or flagged all those short questions with the memory that if this is the sort of question, I'm going to respond this way. So this is not only that particular student. Majority of the students, the way our education, the present educational system is structured, we are actually encouraging memory-based success in the academia. This memory-based success in the academia is actually fatal whenever these graduates are employed in the relatively less familiar or unknown situations. And these students are actually competing against these kids. Now come to the second kid. This is a fourth grader's homework. The question the school has posed is that imagine one day there is no water and electricity. How would it improve your day-to-day life, or how would you pass the day? Now, when I was asked this question, I was also a fixed mind guy, and I thought, well, if there is no water and no electricity, it means there is no life. Because water is the basis of all the life. If there is no water, we can't survive. If there is no electricity, there is no life. Now check the answers. What this fourth grader has put. He says that I would invent a machine that would make water out of natural resources. Or I will buy Coca-Cola from market and drink it throughout the day. As like a 38 or 39 years old guy, I was not able to think this flexible. That the options are there. Then, without electricity, he would invent a machine that would go to the point where the lightning is going to hit it and it would gather the electricity. Or he would go for the whole day, he will have a break, he will go for picnic outside. If there is no electricity, you can go for the picnic. So it is actually not a big deal. If there is no water, you can go for Coca-Cola, and if there is no electricity, well, you instead of wasting your whole day on your bed, you can always go out. So this is how the kids think when they are young. And when they graduate, you know the situation better than myself. So what exactly we are doing? Our system is actually forcing them to pick between true and false, between right and wrong, between yes and no. We are not teaching them the possibilities. There are hundreds, countless possibilities between yes and no, where they have to become a well-rounded graduates, knowing and applying what they know is totally different ball game. So the system has to actually encourage them. So this is actually an oak tree. So why the tallest oak tree in the jungle is the tallest? Is it just because it sprouts from the hardest acorn or something else? तो हम ये कहते हैं ना कि sometime ये student ही अच्छे हैं, they are good, they are destined to be good. This theory is absolutely rejected. That if you take the good student and say an IQ based test, this was a very serious test actually conducted over 3 decades in the States and United States of America, where the students whose IQ was 130 plus, they were chosen and they were studied for decades, for 3 decades, and then their achievements and their accomplishments, they were mapped with the other students, and it was concluded that the IQ was not the only criteria for the success in life. Well, there could be a lot of difference between somebody whose IQ is 70 and whose IQ is 130, but beyond a certain threshold, say 120, if the IQ grows, it does not play much role in the professional development or the professional accomplishments. It means it's not only the hardest acorn, there are other factors. Even if the seed is hard, but there is no sunlight, or there are actually tree hunters. When the tree grows up, someone comes and cuts it. Then there are rats. Then the soil is not fertile enough. So these are the conditions. These are the system. So we are actually responsible for taking the seeds and providing them good soil and ensuring then the other tree do not block the sunlight, and the when the trees are plants, then when they sprouts out of the acorn, they are safe, their roots are safe from the rabbits, and they are also saved from the tree hunters. So this is our job. So this is the system that we have to develop. So over here I have mapped 1, 2, 3, and 4, the 4 different ages. This is how we have evolved. We used to have agriculture age where there was no industrialization. 300 years back, then it was industrial revolution and everything got mechanized or industrialized. Then since last 50 or around 60 years, we have been passing through the information age, and the information age is ending and we are entering into the conceptual age or the age of innovation. Now let's see what exactly is the requirement of all these ages. Number one, when we were in the agriculture age, the worker was farmer. He needed to have strong back for work defined by hard labor for planting and harvesting in the field. Then came the industrial age. The worker who was a laborer or a factory worker in the industrial age, machines were involved and work was defined by long, tedious work hours and repetitive tasks. So then we have the engine coming up and the factories being set up. It started from England and then it spread all across the globe. Then came the information age where the workers were knowledge workers. They were not defined by the strong back, or they were not defined by the long tedious hour or the endurance and the strength they had. So what they did, they gathered and disseminated the information. Work was managed by the management of facts and figures. And the age that is knocking at our door is the conceptual or innovation age. Creative workers are required now. The nature of work has changed from the management of the existing information to the creation of the new information. Now imagine, as responsible people working in the academic setup of this country, if we are producing these workers. Factory workers are the factory workers or farmers compatible with the requirement of the innovation age? This is the dilemma number 3. So what we are producing is actually outdated when we compare it to the contemporary requirements. So what we have to do, we have to rethink. We have to actually put the whole process in a perspective so that we can improve the process. Unless the process is improved or the dough machine is improved, whatever is the quality of the dough, if the pattern is circle, you will never get a square outside the dough machine. So this is again our dilemma. So with all these dilemmas, now what is the way out or the way forward? What the others have done, we can do and implement the same. The outcome based education system is actually a solution, or at least for the time being it provides a solution or a way out of these dilemmas, where we are structuring our whole dough machine. When we call dough machine, it means the overall institutional framework that includes academic, administrative, and teaching or non-teaching activities within our premises. We have to think that whatever we are doing, is it required or why we are doing it? We have to ask the questions. So what question should we ask? So if we are dealing with a 4 years BS program, say in chemistry or physics and geography or mechanical engineering, whatever the program you are dealing with, if the program does not have program educational objectives, if you don't have the objectives, where to set the program? It's just like you start a car, the car is started and ready to go, but you are unsure of your destination, that where you are heading towards. You need to exit Lahore, and you have to decide, are you going towards Islamabad or Multan? So that is the critical decision. This is a juncture. So out the program or educational objectives, they will be very in length discussed by Dr. Faz, but again this is relevant, so that is why I'm pinching this point. The program educational objectives, then how do you measure them? Who will measure them? Is it you or someone else? And then what are the program learning outcomes? If the student does complete those 130 credit hours, what capacities, abilities, and skills, and knowledge, and attitudes they will be instituted into the graduates, which can be measured, and he can demonstrate that. So you need to have some program learning outcomes. If you have the program learning outcomes, that is, they are actually pasted at the exit gate of your institution. You need to keep an eye on that whatever activity we are performing, we have to keep an eye on the program learning outcomes. Now the program learning outcome, to achieve the program learning outcome, we have the opportunity. When we are dealing with the course, the courses should have the course learning outcomes. Those course learning outcomes shall be mapped onto the program learning outcomes. So the program learning outcomes, they will be measured through the course learning outcomes. So all the systems, it will actually become subservient to those program learning outcomes, which are actually derived from the program educational objective, and the program educational objective that has to be consistent with the program mission of the department as well as the mission and vision of the institute. What does this term OBE mean? It is actually focusing and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for every student to be able to achieve successfully at the end of the learning experience. So just mind that it's everything, and every student, they should be able to achieve. So we cannot actually leave the system as open-ended as our conventional system is. कि मैंने तो पढ़ा दिया है, I have delivered my sermon. अब ये उनकी कैपेसिटी है जिसमें जितना ज़र्फ था उसने ले लिया, and they are gone. So this is not the case. The system actually, this system, this discourages this practice. The system induces flexibility so that every student can achieve all those outcomes which are defined. Now, how it is done, this is actually the subject of our presentation today. So the outcome-based education is developing a clear set of learning outcomes around which all the systems component can be focused. So the whole system is actually serving the graduates, or the whole system is serving the graduates and helping them to achieve those program learning outcomes which are actually the conditions to get the degree awarded. So establishing the condition, what we have to do as a system, we have to establish the conditions and opportunities. So we need to create enabling environment, and we have to provide the students ample and enough opportunities within the system so that they are enabled and encouraged to achieve those essential outcomes. So the way we can summarize this OBE is that we need to have some outcomes, and once you have those outcomes, you need to actually re-engineer the whole system so that the system becomes supportive to the graduates and the teachers and everything, so that the students are able to achieve those learning outcomes. So defining the learning outcome is step number one, and then re-engineering the whole system so that it become a facilitator to the student in achieving those learning outcome is the second objective, and this is OBE in a nutshell. So now what are these outcomes? Because at this paradigm, this has this word outcome in its name. So what is outcome? Outcomes, the clear learning results that we want the students to demonstrate at the end of significant learning experience. If you can recall the learning outcome or expected outcomes of yesterday's session and the today's session, we can correlate what we were trying to do. We have not used the word understand or comprehend, because if I say that I understand something, how do you know that I understand? You actually want me to do something so that I can demonstrate that understanding. So it is not the understanding, it is actually the demonstration of understanding or comprehension that matters most. So we need them to have what they can demonstrate, what learners can actually do. So they will be able to describe something, they will be able to explain something, they will be able to design something, they will be able to create something, they will be able to synthesize something, evaluate something. So these are so if the students say we understood, so then we have to see how can we check their understanding, and their understanding, the only way they can reflect their understanding is through the demonstration of the understanding by doing something. So what something? It's the tangible application of what they have learned. Then actions and performances that embody learners' competence in using the competence, information, ideas, and knowledge successfully. He has sought knowledge. He has attended your class for 8 weeks, and now you are into the midterm. You should not be, there is no way we can check their understanding. What do we have to do? We have to ask them to do something. That something that they do, it must be tangible, it must be relevant, and it must be consistently and repeatedly checked time and again, so that that experience does become a lifelong experience. So these are actually the outcomes. What this system will appreciate is not only the understanding, it is the demonstration of understanding through doing something else that actually reflect that the topic or the subject has been mastered. So these are the 15 P's of OBE system. If you want to see OBE, or if you want to institute OBE at your institution, this triangle or pyramid is going to help you a lot. So there is one paradigm, two purposes, 3 premises, 4 principles, and 5 practices. So this is, if you add 1 to 5, you get 15. So they are all P's. So these are these 15 P's. They are the elements of the OBE framework. If you want to understand that how would this system, where is the first end of the thread, where you want to start the process, this is the place. So first of all, we need to understand that the OBE, going to OBE is a paradigm shift. It's not actually that many times when you talk to people, the people who do not believe in the system, who practice something else, and they have a different belief, they may be telling you it's hard, it's a lot of documentation, the teachers, they are really pissed off, they are not in a happy situation. But if they have a belief, if their belief has changed, they will be telling you a totally different story. So you should be very mindful whom you speak to. If the person who is telling you about the OBE system, if he is not convinced and still practicing, well, this is a very difficult life. At least I cannot live a life where I have a different belief and the practice is different. So what is the paradigm? Paradigm is when and how is not important. What and whether it is important. When the student learn and how does he learn, it is not important. For example, if a teacher says that my way is the only way, that is the wrong way. There are multiple ways. What we should encourage is that we should be testing the students against open-ended problems where there are multiple paths to the solution of the problem. So it means how is not important. You cannot actually specify that this is the path that leads to the solution. The open-ended problem, generally in life, there are multiple ways of solving the problem that we confront. Similarly, when is not important. When means what he needs to do is he needs to achieve those program learning outcomes. When I say program learning outcome, I means the graduate attributes. It is not only the knowledge of your subject. It is not only the skill of your subject. It's a full package actually. For example, if you are dealing with engineering program, so in an engineering program, you will have engineering knowledge, problem analysis, design and development of solution, use of modern tools, investigation. This is something that we can call the technical stuff. But these are only 5 program learning outcomes. There are 12 program learning outcomes presently which are being ensured that they should be instituted and ingrained. What are the others? And these other program learning outcomes we will be describing at detail in our next session, but they are teamwork, ethics, sustainability, respect to the environment, return to the society, communication, project management, lifelong learning. So these are some things which in our old practice, in our conventional system, we may not have bothered. कि जो student जो है, even if he is not a great team member, he can solve all those problems. He can be a good engineer, he can be a good chemist, good physicist, good mathematician, good geologist, or a good geography guy, good philosopher. But at the end of the day, when he goes to his workplace, over there he has to interact with people. As I stated yesterday, some people down the stream, some up the stream, some people reporting him, some people who are co-worker and the bosses as well. So he needs to understand and appreciate the importance of workplace culture. So if he has not been taught and tested, he will be in trouble. So then again, ethics, this is a big problem, especially in the evolving society like ours. So ethics again, they are very important. He needs to learn the project management skill. Whenever he is developing something new, some theory, some chemical, some equipment, he needs to understand that the environment is very important. Otherwise, what happens? Look, 60, 70 years back, we had the horses and carts. टांगे और घोड़ों पे लोग सफर करते थे, but the water to drink and air to breathe, they were excellent, pure. Hardly people any died of lungs problems. And if you are living anywhere near Lahore, in next 4, 5, 6 weeks, you will actually imagine the city becomes a gas chamber. So if we retrack this problem backwards, it is actually the problem with the designers who solved the problem of communication. They replaced the horse and cart with the car, with the bus, with the truck. They solved the problem of communication and created the problem of health. They solved a lower order problem and created a higher order problem because they were not actually paying respect to the environment. They were not thinking that the solution which they are devising can be damaging to the environment. So this paradigm shift actually requires that the student is ingrained with those graduate attributes where environment is taken into account every time you design a new solution. Because when you pollute the environment, it's not only you are polluting the whole planet. Even those people who are living beyond the geographical boundaries of this country, they are affected. So this paradigm shift does require, so those PLOs or the exit requirements, they actually command that the students are time and again exposed to the problem where they learn to appreciate the importance of environment when they design a solution. So again, coming back to this paradigm, what and whether is important. If the learning has occurred, it is important. But when did it occur and how did it occur, this is not important. So this is actually a shift from the conventional system. Then there are two purposes. Purpose number one, ensuring all students are equipped with knowledge, competence, and qualities to be successful. So the way we define success is through the achievement of those graduate attributes. And I again say, when we say graduate attributes, they include some technical stuff, some subject oriented knowledge, some teamwork, some ethics, some respect to the environment, some project management, as well as the life. Not every time the student has to start from the AB initio. He will be starting from AB initio if he is not a lifelong learner. If he or she is a lifelong learner, they will be using their prior knowledge. So the learning shall be leading to more learning. Then the second purpose is that structuring and operating the systems to ensure the achievement of those outcomes. So the purpose is the students are equipped with those qualities. And the second purpose is we need to readjust the alignment of our system so that it becomes a facilitator to achieve those graduate attributes. There are three premises. All students, so this is a belief change actually. If the belief is that I am done with my stuff, I have taught what was required to be taught, my job is done, so this needs to be changed. There is a shift required in thinking. We should be thinking that all the students can learn and succeed, but not the same day and the same way. So this is actually consistent with this. When is actually same day? How is same way? So no more same way and same day. What we need to ensure is that those culminating outcomes, they are achieved. Whether and what, they are critical. Then successful learning promotes even more learning. If the student succeeds in one module, the system should be structured. The assessment should be made in such a way that the subjects which are coming in the breadth or in the depth, they do use the prior knowledge which they have covered in the prerequisites or in the earlier semesters. So this is learning leading to learning. But if the system is wholeheartedly haphazard, then it will be a typical case of blind leading the blind. Every time a new module comes, the student starts from his pre-engineering classes. So that is not a good omen. A good omen is that we should institute learning in such a way that by the time the student is halfway through the degree program, he is visibly becoming a self self-directed learner. Yesterday, I had a meeting with one of my student cohort. They were telling me that almost around 20 to 25% of the students who are in third year, they are freelancers. Means they have learned those softwares which we have taught them, and now they are doing the freelancing where they book the work online and they solve the problems by using those software skills, and they're selling those skills. So this is what we call, so they don't have to wait for their degree to be completed in order to earn. So they are already into the cycle of earning because learning is leading the more learning. So system controls the conditions that affect the successful. So this is our job actually. We have to create that ambience or the governing conditions which will actually promote that the student, not one of them, not two of them, not a group of them, all of them has the ample opportunity. So uske liye ek prerequisite ye hai jo semester system mein we talked about yesterday, that what we can do is, if we believe that it's not the same way and the same day, what we can do is we can make the degree program length flexible. If a student cannot complete his degree in 4 years, he can do it in 5 years, maybe in 6 years, and in some cases he can go up to 7 years. So method could be different and the time length could be different. What is fixed is the learning threshold or the learning outcomes that we have as faculty members defined or designed. Then we have the principles. There are 4 principles. So we are done with this 1 paradigm, 2 purposes, 3 premises, and the 4 principles are which this system demands: clarity of focus on culminating exit outcomes. As I've already said, that we have to keep a very, very clear eye on the program learning outcomes. Program learning outcomes are the dashboard. If this is a ship, we have to constantly keep an eye on the temperature outside, the humidity outside, airspeed outside, the weather condition outside, and how far is the destination. We may have to do a crash landing, but if you are not focusing on, or you are not clear, or the focus is not clear that where we are heading, so then the ship will become an unruddered ship. So the system demands that the clarity is there, and then the opportunity is expanded. The conventional system hai, which believes on when and how, that actually restricts the opportunity. So this system, which is outcome-based education system, it expands the opportunity. So expanded opportunity and support for the learning success. So hardly we have used the word teaching in this whole presentation. You will not actually find word teaching. It is actually learning, because this learning is happening 2 way. Both the student as well as the student teacher, they are learning. So the opportunity is expanded if the conditions or the system, it is enabled and it is supporting. Then expectations are high for all to succeed. It's not only that the system is successful or the system is helping. We have higher expectation because the system has become more enabling. Now the learning is leading the learning. Just imagine if every time we have to hold the finger, so one guy leaves the finger, the other one has to come and pick up the finger to lead the student. But if the student becomes a self-directed learner, then that finger holding thing will be gone. The student shall be running and you may be following. It means the expectation, the standards, the benchmarks, they will be raised. And the fourth principle is design down. It's not actually that we are working in the air. We are living in a society. Our graduates, they have to go and serve a certain segment of the society. They will be going into the public service, into the private service. They are going to found their own companies. And we know our own societal culture and the requirements. So what we have to do, we have to take all the stakeholders on board, and we have to decide what are the program educational objectives. Program educational objectives, as we will be illustrating later on. These are the attributes, or these are the qualities, these are the achievements which students have, or the accomplishments which students have done when they have graduated from your institute. So it is not measured here. You are not going to measure the program educational objectives within the premises of your institute. Program educational objective is the user authentication. Program learning outcomes, PLOs, that is what you claim, you or we claim. We produce graduates and we tell the customers or the employers that they have these 12 graduating attributes. They are good team members, they have strong ethics, they pay respect to the environment, they are technically very sound, they can apply their knowledge, they have management skills, they are lifelong learners. We have told them, and different students, they have different score on their degrees regarding all these attributes. Now the student go into the industry or in the society or into the public service. He works there for say 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Then we ask the employers that how good or bad you found our graduate, because ultimately it is the employer who is going to be the beneficiary or the victim of our product. If we have produced an inconsistent and irrelevant product, it's not going to work, and the employer is going to be victim of our product. But if we have produced a sustainable product which is compatible with the contemporary requirements, the employer is going to be the ultimate beneficiary of that product. So what we will do, we will ask employer what sort of graduate you need. By looking at the PEOs, we will define our program learning outcomes. And then by looking at our program learning outcomes, we will define our subject level or course level outcomes. So all our activities are actually aligned and focused in one direction. We are not pulling the ball apart now. We are moving the system in a synergistic way. Every activity in our educational setup is helping the student to achieve those graduating attributes. So these are the 4 principles, then 5 practices. If you have shifted the paradigm with a strong belief in your heart that this is something that we are thinking it's good, it should be done, then we understood there are 2 purposes. Then there were 3 premises, and here I have explained the 4 principles. Once everything is done, now what exactly you need to do? Doing or the practice is define outcomes, design curriculum, deliver instructions, document results, and determine advancements, the CQI, as we spoke about yesterday. So this is in a nutshell, and the OBE pyramid, or 15 P's of OBE. We have to shift the paradigm, understand the purposes, and then the 3 premises that the learning leads learning. And it is not only the classroom where the learning occurs. Premises could be different. It could be home, it could be the student hostel, it could be a group work, it could be an individual work. So the premises can be anything. And then these 4 principles, and last but not the least, the 5 practices. So this is what we need to understand and believe as faculty before this system gets kick-started at our educational institutes. Now I'm going to explain what exactly this clarity of focus. As you see here, 4 of these, maybe one slide on each one of them. Clarity of focus, what does it do? What does it give us? The clear picture, because we are very clear. Then there is a definite starting point. We know that at the end of this learning experience, we are going to pick up the students from here and we have to take them there. You have assessed the cohort you are working, you know the starting point or the day one. The intent is very clear that everything and anything that exist within our boundaries of our institute or beyond the boundaries of institute, where we can actually control and we are stakeholders, we have to make sure that all the resources are put at the service of students in helping them achieving those learning outcomes. Performance is when the picture is clear, the performance is going to be demonstrated. It is not the understanding, it is actually the demonstration of the performance. Bottom line is set up. We know that this is the minimum threshold to actually get through, and then there's a perfect match. As the picture is clear, starting point is defined, assessments are being continuously made, and performance is being demonstrated and assessed. It actually provides a perfect match between the prodigy and the teacher, the faculty member. And then there are no surprises, as the expectations are clear. In the very first lecture, we have agreed that these are the 12 PLOs, and for this subject, these are 3 to 4 course learning outcomes. So student, they will not be surprised. So surprises, they are actually taken out of the system. Then how can we expand the opportunity? These are 5 dimensions of expanded opportunity. The one is time, then we have the methods and modalities. In time, it is teaching time, then learning time, and then the eligibility. That window of opportunity that remains actually available for the students to learn. Duration of learning opportunities, frequency of learning opportunities, because the course is structured in such a way that we are going to target that program learning outcomes. So we need, maybe some of the subject they come only once, and some of the subject जो subject core पे हैं, who are relevant to your own program, they will keep coming. They come more frequently as compared to the other subject. So we cover the foundation. Some allied courses say communication. We need to study communication. Most of the time, the graduates, they cannot communicate what they know. But if it is an engineering program or a physics, BS4 year physics or mathematics program, so it's not the communication program. So communication, it will be less frequent as compared to the critical mathematics based जो engineering knowledge है, if we are dealing with the engineering program. Similarly, we have the methods and modalities. We need to understand, in order to expand the opportunities, we need to expand the learning style. जो direct instructions जो हैं, they may not be, and they are absolutely not the only way to teach. The way we go into the class, we are the single sage on the stage. Students are empty vessels. They are just listening whatever is pouring into the pot, and what if the pot is blocked? Nothing goes in. So there are actually different ways. One of the Harvard professor, whose name is also Gardner Harvard, he has suggested that there are 7 methods or styles. It could be linguistic, logical or mathematical, spatial, space-related, musical, kinesthetic, bodily, or interpersonal and intrapersonal. Then there are, if we have to expand the opportunity, the expansion of the opportunity demands कि जो बाकी तीनों principle हैं, they are applied consistently, systematically, creatively, and simultaneously. It is not only the clarity of focus. The clarity of focus, higher expectations, and designing down the whole system. If we apply these systems or these principles in consistent, systematic, and creative way, or simultaneously, the opportunity shall be automatically expanded. Then we have the performance standard. Yes, how the performance standards are designed and implemented, and then same standards for all. Many times we actually come across such question in these workshops कि जी जो student अगर weak है तो can we design an assessment? Can we design apologies, can we design an assessment जो थोड़ा सा student who is not that good उसके लिए relatively easier? No, this is not possible. This system does not allow to change the performance benchmark. We should not change the performance benchmark. What we can do is, this dimension is going to help. You can allow more time, more learning time, greater window of opportunity for those students who are struggling. Then last but not the least, curriculum access and structuring. We should institute critical thinking, and we need to make sure that the student comes across the experience, and they should experience higher or complex problems more often, especially when they are past midway of their degree. And they should be repeatedly exposed to those problems who are similar to the industrial real world or the industry problem. By repeating those problems or similar problem shall actually internalize the skill of solving and encountering the unfamiliar problem and providing the solutions. So these are some of the actions that we can take. Actually make a clear distinction between whether the students are doing routine assignments or developing the ultimate performance capabilities. Routine assignment, homeworks, they are a tool to develop the performance capabilities. Performance capabilities must not be mixed and matched or confused with the assignment. Giving an assignment is a tool to achieve something. That something is the ultimate performance goal. We should differentiate between the practice and the ultimate performance. So practice can be a necessary route to ultimate performance. It is not a performance itself. We should differentiate between the pencil grade and the ink grade. Means the system provides the flexibility before the grade becomes permanent. If the student wants to improve the grade, repeat it, he wants to resubmit something, these system, the OBE system, actually it does allow that. But once the ink grade has been given, that cannot be changed. Then students procrastination does not reduce the expectation. As I've already explained, if the student says that, well, it's not getting into my head, and they are using those lame excuses or procrastinating, what can we do is we can expand the opportunity. We can ask them take more time. Well, this is another way to take it. You can refer it to some other resource which he can or she can study and come back again, so that he or she can be assessed. Then the higher expectation, as the if we are going for the higher expectation, there are three key dimensions for the higher expectations. The clarity of focus we are done. Then last slide what we saw, we have actually seen the expanded opportunity. So clarity of focus, expanded opportunity, and then we have the higher expectation. If we want to achieve this goal of higher expectation, we need to raise the standard of the acceptable performance. For example, if you are giving small numerical problems in the previous or conventional systems, now you need to think you can still test them in the same curricula, but the problem can be made a lot more difficult, practical, or practice oriented, or reflecting the original or real life or industrial problems. So something like this will certainly raise the standard of the acceptable performance. So to raise the acceptable performance, we need the other three principles. So these four principles, they work hand in glove with each other. They have a synergistic relationship with each other. They help each other. They are at the service of each other. Then ये जो कल भी बात हुई, one point of time maybe when the outcome-based education system is instituted in true Latin spirit, we may get rid of the bell curve. Then the performance benchmark is there. Whoever meets the performance benchmark, they should go and graduate. Then the four key structures. If we are going to institute this outcome-based education system, or the 15 P's, this is what we need to do. We need to have standards and accountability. What are the standards? Means how achievement and performance standards are defined. You need to benchmark them, that somewhere else people are doing this, or there should be a rationale or justification for any standard that we define. Then how graduation credit is awarded. You take oral exams, you take the written exams, you give homework, you give complex problems, and how can we record them? For the audit, they should be assessment, grading, report cards, transcripts, and credits. They are actually the evidence of these achievements. Then we have curriculum, content, and articulation. The formal learning experience for the students are defined, organized, and linked. How do we do it? We use the programs courses of study and subject areas. We define foundation courses, breadth courses, depth courses, then some allied courses. And this is how the graduate actually becomes a well-rounded graduate. Then after the curriculum, standards, curriculum, then instructional process and technology. What tools are used to engage the students in the curriculum learning process? It is the organization of instruction and technologies for carrying it out. So what the instructions are and how we carry out instruction. It is not, as I have already stressed, that the direct instruction, the usual method of teaching, is not the only method of teaching. There are multiple methods. One of the new method that we are practicing these days is a flipped classroom. In the flipped classroom, the lecture is pre-recorded, sent to the students, they watch it, and some other course material is also provided, and then the students come back in the class, and the class actually starts with the question, and the 2 hours it's only discussion. There is no formal lecture. They are present for 2 hours, and it's discussion. Teacher is becoming a football coach. He is just facilitating them. He's helping and steering that the discussion goes in the intended direction. Then eligibility and promotion, what students will work with which teacher and what peers. So this is actually student grouping, scheduling, placements, promotion and advancements. इस पे कल जो semester regulation पे बातचीत की, that can be actually helpful in determining the eligibility, promotion and assignment. So these culminating outcomes of significance or the program learning outcome, they have performance standards, curriculum and articulation, instructional and interactional technology, eligibility and promotion and assignment, and how they are linked. The performance standards are actually developed, and they are we use the clarity of focus. The focus has got to be very, very clear when we determine the performance standard. It is only after the clarity of focus has been used to determine the performance standard that the right sort of curriculum can be assembled. Now, when we are assembling the curriculum, we should be thinking that we are designing down. The curriculum is not hanging in the air. We are not bringing it from something. You cannot actually create something out of nothing. We need something, and that something that has PEOs, the PLOs, and then we are going to know the CLOs. And in order to achieve those program learning outcome, what sort of curriculum should be designed? Once the curriculum is designed and it is designed down, we need to devise the instructional and interactional technology. And this instructional and interactional technology shall actually make sure that the delivery is on time, targeted, and appropriate. If we are doing or using all the contemporary tools which are available for instruction and interaction, the opportunity is automatically expanded. The student who are not exposed to say they are not asked to present their work even once, they are totally different as compared to the graduates who at least every semester once they are asked to bring their work and present it to their peers as well as to the teachers. Their work is criticized, they take the criticism, go back and improve their work. So this actually expands the opportunity. Instruction and interaction, so this is in our control actually. Sometimes there are few boundaries. So HEC has the NCRCs where the curriculum has got a boundary, you can't go beyond. Then when you are designing down, you are actually you have some items fixed and you have to work with those constraints. But instruction and interaction, my dear friends, this is something which is in 100% teacher's control. You can devise any method that you find effective in getting the material delivered. So once the students are eligible for promotion, they are assigned work, the expectations are raised, this cycle keeps working on and on and on. And every time the cycle is completed, the work is documented, the gap between the planning and the achievement is recorded, CQI is done, new plans are remade and then reacted, then remapped. So this cycle keeps going on. Within this cycle lies all the improvement. So So this is what I actually illustrated in the beginning. Then when I was thinking during the morning walk today, that what difference this OBE has made it to us, I think this is where we have expanded the opportunity, and every time we get the student cohort, the expectations are raised. The reason, as a tool for instruction, as a teacher, I am improving. I am bringing all those tools which are available at my disposal to help the students achieve those outcomes. So this is in a nutshell, a difference between the conventional system and the OBE based system. The calendar is defined, and then in outcome based, its outcome is defined. Now remember, please do not mix the conventional system or OBE based system with the semester system. If you are working with semester system, it does not mean that you are working in an OBE system. This OBE is actually different from the conventional system on these lines. The conventional system is calendar defined, this is outcome defined. That constrained opportunity, it expands opportunity. We have the content segmentation there, concept integration, similar, so on and so forth. So what we are doing, we are moving towards a system that is student centered and outcome based. It may have it may not have the opportunity constraint, because we have used the clarity of focus and all other principles and practices to expand the opportunity. So when we are dealing with the students, we should remember that the learning results and performance expectations are clearly communicated. ये कल भी बात हुई, clarification of the expectations is the key in our personal as well as professional as well as our life experiences. Whatever the sphere of life we are dealing with, most of the time issues are very small, but at the root of that is non-expectation or non-clarification of the expectation. If the expectation duly clarified right in the beginning of the learning experience, this experience will be improved. So in this system, learners, who are the students, learners know what they are expected to learn, and instructors know what they are going to help them to learn. There are no surprises in what to be learned, because the expectations, they have been clarified. What you see is what you get. And then instructors take learner's experience, learning style, and learning rate into account. So we are dealing, there is, if we are going to implement the system, there has to be a whole mentoring system to be put in place, which are going to help all the struggling students. The students who are left behind the cohort, there should be an analysis to help them, that if a new device is required, maybe additional material is required, some extra help may be needed. So these are all the stuff that is required. So with this, I bring the first session of this day 3 to end, and you are more than welcome if you have any questions. Thank you so very much. If you have any questions, kindly go ahead. If you do not have any questions, then we will close the session for 15 minutes.